and we
Sure.
can.
That
I really
that's
look forward to learning that tool at some point too. I like learning stuff, um, so yeah,
I yeah,
we'll park that for some time and we'll discuss. Definitely, I'm really looking for BI
great,
stuff.
great.
Yep.
Appreciate that. That's a real efforts. It's like I like the kind of positivity around you because it's similar to what I do. Is like I like to learn, and I don't know what else I've been doing, but IT has become one of my favorite topics. From the last 8 to 9 years now. Previous to it, I was more into operations. Then I was into leadership. Then I took up training because that was my passion that I wanted to do, and I wanted to get into that. And yeah, that sounds good. And yes, hopefully, I get an opportunity to talk to you again, and we can go through together the Power BI because uh, the environment, what the Power BI is set up with, and the way the technology has been built up inside the system or tool, uh, I would say it's really easy to utilize it in functionality way, but it is very powerful in terms of giving that visualization. That's one thing which I liked about Power BI, and I always prefer Power BI to be the top preference for my visualization, analytics, reports, or anything and all. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, yeah. So in my project, right, we do a lot of data analytics
yeah.
from a customer point of view. Like we put the tracking and everything, and like I think that's where I was more leaning towards. Like, how do I interpret that data that's been tracked in the Adobe, and how that makes sense, right? That's kind of a thing I was, because I was, as I said, right, I'm looking more between product and project. I did a product owner job rotation as well, so I felt like that is one piece I was more curious to learn. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to really discuss that in detail at some point, Nizam.
True,
By the
true.
way, which state are you from, India?
Bangalore in India. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm actually from Hyderabad.
Oh, great. That's nice place. So, my in-laws are from Hyderabad, so I like that
I
place.
guess I was guessing you were from Hyderabad for some reason, and that's why I was like,
Yeah, that influence, right? So it's like I've been there for a long time. It's been from childhood. Like basically, I used to travel. So I like one of my favorite hobbies travels. So I used to travel frequently to this place, Hyderabad, and it became one of my favorite places. And only one reason I like to travel to Hyderabad is because of the infrastructure that's getting developed on uh, Hyderabad.
oh, it's insane actually. Every
That,
time I go, it's like a surprise for me.
sometimes I feel that, did I come to a, Arab country or something? That the way this infrastructure was set up was very nice. And the food, no doubt, the Hyderabadi delicious foods are there. And I'm a foodie, and so I have a lot of different types of hobbies when it comes to talking about that on an offline note. So, but yeah, but I'll certainly help you with some insights about Scrum in terms of theory. But I'll tell you a little way of how things I do is like, yeah, presentation is part of visual, but what I have learned, what I have practiced, what I have implemented in my projects and assignments. So I certainly will be able to help you with more of that kind of insights because uh, that's one of the way I believe that I can train people around it because looking at something, just reading a paragraph and talking to people, it sounds easy, but I want more of like the opposite audience to understand, and at the same time, it creates that kind of interaction between me and the audience. So that's the way I will do it. Right. So I think, yeah, it was first. Thank you so much, for knowing so much about you. And it's great to know that you're passion towards the next platform is already set up. So I hopefully look forward to have an opportunity again to connect with you and help you explore Power BI, because that really is a crazy world of data analytics, I would say. All right. So now let me give you a little about Scrum certifications and how exactly this certification works, what exactly is the requirement, and how is it done. So just a part of the agenda, I just wanted to cover that because it really helps us to understand, because people, what I've seen is like when they are coming for CSM trainings, or uh, they want to know more about scrums, so they just have one intention that I want to do a scrum, but people don't understand where exactly it should be utilized, what is the purpose, what is the outcome, what are the types of requirements, prerequisites, all these things have to be understood. So that's one important thing, what I believe. uh, Now, in Scrum, like basically CSM this certification for Scrum Masters is basically an online platform again, and this generally happens to be on an online with a web camera to be on every time. Anytime the web camera changes the course controls or navigations, the exam automatically gets stopped and it goes off. So it's more of like you have to be very careful. I know you might be aware of this, but I just wanted to tell you because that's my experience. And I had few of my trainees who had some same problems, like they attended the exams. Unfortunate, they were not able to clear it out in the attempt because the web cameras were not placed completely for the entire session of the examination. So generally, this examination is set up with 100 questions of multiple choice, no negative marks, nothing else. It's just the 2 hours uh, duration of examination that happens. So the examination questions, the way it is built around, it's more of like you know, on a logical basis, technical basis, and I would say more on an analytics basis understanding. It's not very common type. They, I would say in general, they have not taken that questions from, SABOK, which is like, Scrum Master's Book of Knowledge. So they haven't taken something from this. So they have created some kind of questions on their own. Okay, let's say, so that, people try to spend time in understanding uh, how it is being done, because Scrum Masters, when they do it in reality, they need to do a lot of thinking, analytical, critical, problem solvers, uh, design thinking, innovative. All of these things have to come into picture. So that's very important in terms of that. Now, I think Agile is something which you're familiar with. It's more of like creating and responding to a change so that you generate that kind of turbulence in your business. So just basically, it's kind of a interesting topic, agile, and I've been seeing that the agile takes to a different level of technology aspect, and it has been grooming in such a way that the market's improved. The markets are changing just because of the technology with agile technologies, and the timelines are better now, and the cost implementations are reduced. So this there was a point I remember that we used to think these technology tools or platforms are very expensive enough. Okay, because initially that's what I thought when I did my certification, and I was thinking, should I really pick this up? Because what if in case this is something not for me, or it's like very expensive for me to pick it up and follow? But it is really interactive tool, and it really helps us to build the knowledge around what exactly the project is all about in agile. So this was a little of, sorry. Okay, I thought it was mine. Okay. So it was like, you can see the way the development has happened. It's like, the kind of a path, or I would say the inceptions of the technology in the project management roles and the agile, and how it has taken to the different methodologies, the way of working, the system around it. So that's a little uh, past. Okay. Now, I think we are familiar with one thing. There are 12 different agile principles that we should be very familiarized with, because these principles, I would say, they are the foundation of the entire setup. Because we need to understand the principles. In general, if we ask, it's more of like understanding the basics, understanding the rules, understanding the structure, understanding the architecture type, whatever it is. So we need to get the basics around it first, because only when someone, like us, understands the principles of why this system or technology is built around it, only that is where we will get to know where exactly is this going to take us. Because it shouldn't be in a situation that, I just pick it up and I don't know the basic ground rules. Like, that's one of the important thing that we look at. And in agile principles, our priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So that is nothing but, we have to, our priority remains, just sorry, one jacket. Okay, sorry for that. So it is our importance as for customers, that's a stakeholders, we deliver the products, to make sure that is, we are providing them a timely support and assistance. That's the important thing. uh, because one thing what I say is, like, example, in the role of business analyst as well. Okay, when we are doing a BA role, so a BA also has to follow a certain timelines, certain responsibilities towards the project, the deliveries, and also making sure the timelines are kept in mind, the duration of the project or duration of the scope, whatever you're working on. So similar way, the agile principles says that, our stakeholders are important. So in general terms, we say customer is our god. So the similar way, we have to keep the priorities with them. Then welcome the changing requirements. That's again another thing. The technology does not stop anywhere. They keep improvising it, they keep upgrading it, or they keep implementing new tools and resources into it. So it is good to keep ourselves up to date with the technology world, at the same time the market, the global market, how it's working around, so that these principles or these ground rules will be very effective when you apply them in your respective assignments, projects, or your particular scrum roles, masters, SM roles, and all. And then another thing is, like, we have to make sure that, we have a respective timelines. Okay, we have to make sure the working software frequently. So that means it's nothing but the tools and technology which is built around it is, in a working condition, it is very smooth, it's very transition way. It should be, we have to keep that a regular check. It's a monitoring activity that we need to keep on around it. The business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Now, it's again a similar activity. We have to keep that collaboration. We have to keep a lot of communication channels open between uh, the stakeholders, the customers, in case generally, if we say, there has to be that communication. Because when a customer or a stakeholder comes with a certain needs or requirements, or let's say it's a problem statement, so we need to understand where they are coming from, get a background of it, understand the requirements, set up a list of activities, tasks, and ensure that, you keep all the respective stakeholders involved in that particular project, like starting from day one till end of the project. We have to make sure we are keeping everyone aligned to the project. So, we don't lose a track of any individual at all. And that's very important because, excuse me, like example, we have being a leader itself. So when we are leaders, we just don't look, you know, in a one street or a one way. We always look around the 360-degree view because it is very important. I need to know not only my surroundings, but I need to know entire organization and the market, how it's working. Because a leader is how they interact, they communicate, the way the people management takes place. All of these things is something which keeps the uh, organization understanding, organization commitments, organizational goals, everything set, aligned, and runs in a very successful manner. So, the same way in Agile principles, we have to make sure your business, your projects, your stakeholders, your requirements, everything is tracked and you keep people up to date on that. Like you basically create the frequent communication channels. You can have a frequent meets, you can have a frequent chats, verbal, written, non-verbal, or you can meet in person. Anything can happen like that example. The fifth principle we say is like build projects around motivated individuals, give them the support they need and trust them to get the job done. Now, example I remember, uh, I was doing a CBAP course, so Certified Business Analyst Professional, and they gave me some projects and assignments. So obviously it was very new to me, and I was looking for some support. Unfortunate, yeah, that time I didn't get that because there was no mentorship provided to me to meet the requirements of the project or case study given to me. So that was a one fail. I realized that whenever you are in a roles of like BA, or let's say Scrum Master, a project manager, or a principal director, or whatever it is important that you keep that support channel always active. Okay. The same way in Agile principles, when we are working on projects, when we are certainly gaining more customers, acquisitions happens, we need to also make sure that uh, we keep that kind of trust, understanding, and provide that support to the individuals who are really willing to get the job done the way it should be done as per the uh, client or customer or stakeholders requirement. So that's your fifth. The sixth agile process principle says that you have to keep it in a sustainable development environment. It's like promote more of sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, users should be able to maintain. So it is making sure that whatever you promote, whatever process, whatever changes, whatever deviations, whatever implementations in terms of technology, we promote it or we deliver that. It has to be in a certain sustainable environment. So it should be very stagnant. It should be very stable. It should not be like uh, a more of like defect in some down the line of 2 3 months after the implementation or launch was completed. And then we also have the agile 7 principle is measuring the performance. So it's more of like identifying how the performance is happening, measure the performance to understand is the program working the way it should be. It's expected from the customer, client, or stakeholder, whosoever you're dealing with. Eighth principle, it should be very effective method of conveying information, okay, to and within a development team. So this is more of again a communication channel, I would say, and it is one of an interaction skills. Uh, so it is very important. uh, we prefer these days, I understand it's a remote hybrid uh, mode going on after the COVID or the pandemic hit. But when we look back before the COVID or the pandemic, I believe that phase was better to what today we are in. Okay. Now, the only reason I understand or I realize this is a different, I don't feel so convenient with this mode. But when it was in the complete, office mode, we are meeting people in person. It is very helpful for us to identify, understand, and sense the kind of a social distance, social relationship within the team, between the individuals. And that is where it becomes a very healthy environment for a team, a project, an organization, or let it be a individual also. It gives us a very comfort space. At the same, it's a place where you can work at your convenience. So that type of environment we had. The same thing when we are working in an agile environment or a CSM kind of thing. It has to be very collaborative. That is one. Communication, another one. Then your stakeholders respect is another important thing. Your customers should trust you, like saying that, yes, Sunita, Nizam, you guys are trustworthy. We can rely on you. We depend on what you say. So it's a lot of factors are important there. So that is why one of the agile principles we have is like efficient and effective methods of, communication. It should not be like, example, I sometimes ask this to my family. Example, I'll take this. Very frequent it happens uh, whenever I go out of the house. So they say that, can you buy this, can you buy that, and come. So all of a sudden they remember again something addition that, they give me a call. But I tend to forget. Maybe I forgot it to get it. So the reason why it happened is when I talk to them in person, like let's say you and me are talking in person, or like now we are in a virtual mode, you can see me, the physical appearance, the postures, the gestures, the emotions, uh, the movement, the face expressions, or everything. So you can understand that this is what my requirement is. At the same time, when I look at the opposite side, I can understand, okay, why is this, why are my family members telling me this so and so product is very important? Or why should I buy this? What is the requirement? So, just an example, but the agile principles are similar to this, where we also have to understand, develop that kind of environment when we are working. Because today's time, I've made some workshops, I visited some seminars, uh, very recent, okay, a conference as well. I observed one thing was the collaboration was missing. Like we had some good management leadership people sitting, and someone is presenting, all that things were placed well, arrangements were done, organizing was there, but the collaboration or information conveying was not there much. So in terms of that, I would say it's like, we have to keep that conversation channel in open in such a way that people don't hesitate to look back and ask you a question, what was that again about? So it should be a very easy, convenient, effective method to communicate. Continuous attention to a technical, that is again nothing but design thinking and more of innovation. That is something you have to look at, another principle. 10th one, it's art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. So that is something nothing but it's more of like keeping things very simple and not spending too much investments. All these things should be in place. The architecture requirements are again important, and making sure we have the better architectures, better design methods, approach, and all of this in the right place. Sorry. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective. That basically it shows the teamwork in simple, the collaborative work. Now, to overall summarize this agile principles, Sunita, in simple term, it's we might be thinking, where is technology in this? Or where is the term of Scrum? Where is Scrum in this? How do I know what are the principles? Or some people might expect, oh, agile principles. Okay, it's more about testing. It's more about project. It's more about some kind of coding, programming. But what I understand from this, when I was looking at business analyst profile professional course as well, when I was doing, and when I did Agile, Scrum, everything, I understood one thing common in all of them is these principles are built more towards human, and then it comes into technology. Because when we are dealing with stakeholders, customers, we have to understand the needs, know your customer, what are they expecting, how should you deliver them, because clients come up with a different approach, the way of methodologies, the style of working, they all have a different approach. So are we meeting that requirements? So how do we do all this? It's through behavioral skills, interaction skills, planning approach, then business planning approaches, analysis, all these things come into picture, and that's where even agile has some principles which is built with the help of same thing, like making sure all these factors are kept in mind so that your agile principles are successfully met with the respective requirement. Now this is what has changed. Okay, now if we see, it's like, we can see a traditional iron triangle and an agile triangle. Okay, so basically what I can say from this diagram or this visual which we have is what has changed. Basically, if we look back, we used to say scope, cost, and schedule, but today when we look at agile, it focuses on certain things: quality, one, which is on importance; value, which is an extrinsic quality, okay; and constraints, which is cost, scope, schedule, which are measured towards the product of the product development. So it is very important we understand the triangle of agile triangle, because for many years the traditional iron triangle was used by the PMs, the project managers, so that they can ensure that the quality of the products is delivered with help of focusing on cost, scope, schedule. But where is the quality? So we didn't have that in the traditional iron triangle, but today when we look at an agile triangle, it focuses on quality, value, and constraints. Why? Because the agile triangle of this product development is focused on the top priority importance we have given is the quality. Because even though you're using a simple a kind of a work process, while we are trying to adjust the rapid changes in the technology world, okay, iron triangle just emphasizes towards the cost, the money involved, the investment, or the schedule, the timelines, I would say. But when you look at the agile triangle, what happens is like it has a very broader concept or the focus. And where is the focus kept on quality? And today that is what every client is expecting from uh, an individual. Let it be a scrum master, let it be a project manager. We are expecting only one thing on priority is your quality. You deliver the things with the quality as said, as required by the respective client. That's one of the important thing, because that's an it's again we call it as intrinsic quality. And another thing is like, while some constraints are still a factor in measuring the success of project also, okay, but they don't define the exact goal, but they are able to measure it. We can measure the success, or we can track the success how it is of the project. Okay, so that's a little understanding because uh, a few ask me every time, like, so Nizam, why traditional iron triangle is being not followed, like, or why is it like uh, kept aside and we are giving more focus on agile. So what happens is agile has quality focus. The tradition says, traditional iron triangle says cost, scope, and schedule. But today, what we all look is quality. And the iron triangle was one of the first things, everyone used to learn initially, because we started with this, like traditional iron triangle and all these things. But today we have, something more in place, which is like really about the product quality. That's very important. And this agile triangle, I wanted to add one thing, like, today what I see from the innovations which is happening in technology world, right, which is a very rapid speed, I would say. uh, they the clients have started looking to shift or transition to a very new framework, which allows them to, take care of client communications, feedbacks, and everything in a very faster pace or a very smoother pace, I can say. The only reason is the agile triangle has quality in it, and that is what agile training or agile triangle, sorry, focuses on quality, and that is why I see that kind of fast-paced environment where only, the client says, you do your project, you do me the work around this project, whatever, but let's put quality in place. So that is important. So yeah, the question banks will keep it for a last because it's not the time for us to go through the question banks, but we will do it as a small activity in the later part. But for me, it is just going to be like we're gonna keep things very simple. We're gonna not uh, load in too much. Now, Scrum overview. Yeah, this is an introduction to where we come from. So generally, this is a, kind of, I would say, uh, a lot of efforts placed in general. If we ask, it's a teamwork we place in, and we have a lot of involvement of multiple teams, individuals working in a project towards saving a lot of time for the operations, business, organization, saving the cost, saving the resources. Because today's environment in organization, what we look at is how do we reduce the cost? Because today, what I see from every organization looking at is they want to reduce the cost. That might be one of the thing, because they want to spend that investment on something else. That's another thing what they look at. So today, this Scrum has played that kind of roles where they help the organizations deliver the products with a greater quality, helping them with the cost effective, timelines, then making things more simpler and more of like automation type. That is another thing. And it is also, I've seen that, they always go with the PM approach, the project management, PMP. They wanted to follow that approach to become more easy and practicable in their organization at the same time. Now, as we know, Scrum is one of the most famous, or I would say popular agile frameworks, because it's a handy, you know, access resource or tool that, basically adapts very soon. It's very flexible. I would say more of user friendly and, you know, designed to deliver the best product quality as we have seen. And SBOK guide is our Scrum Book of Knowledge guide, which is basically structured. that supports all the products and service industry, development in all the industries. And generally, this is your little intro about what Scrum is. Now, history of Scrum. Yeah, I just wanted to share this a little bit. So we all know this was basically this framework was back in 80s, and it was developed by Hirotaka Takushi and Ekojira. So they call that their approach towards innovation in in their language that time, or in their words, as a Rabbi approach, because they define this a very flexible and a more of inclusive product strategy, okay, for them. And it was mainly that approach what they followed was based on the manufacturing industries, okay. And their development did not see much sequential release, but that it is more of like analogous to the game of Rabbi, bro. So in generally, if we say that this started in 80s, it started with a uh, initial start. When they happened, they had only few aspects that they understood, where it thought of being a very flexible, and it is an inclusive product strategy. But today when we look, it has a lot more of approach, a lot of strategies part of it, okay. So that is another thing. So this is just references to the guides, the books, the release versions. But today, why do we think we require uh, Scrum projects more rather than having a traditional project management process? Now, this is another thing is like it emphasizes on people. That's one thing I've noticed, because I told you, right, the agile principles, or the the principles which we were discussing, we focused more towards people rather than process. We focused on people. The reason being is, again, we want to make sure we work in a collaborative environment, communication, then interaction skills continue to be on top. So that is the difference between Scrum and traditional. But traditional project people, like PM processes, they basically focus only on what is the process. Okay, this is my SOP, or this is my standard procedures that I need to do. But they don't focus on the people who are behind the entire project, and they certainly look into that aspect. So that is the one difference. The documentation, yeah, we all know after Scrum is here, we it does not require much. It is just very minimal or minute in the nature. And traditional project management is basically more comprehensive. That is something we all have been seeing it, and we all know this. But another thing is like there in Scrum we have this iterative approach, which is more of like content of the discussion. And sometimes we also understand the methodologies that is adapted, or adaptability is available. But on the other side, when we see on the project management, it is more of linear process style. So it's more of like very orderly kind of thing, and a very straightforward. So it's just like that alphabets, A comes before like that, and all things. So it is very orderly placed, A, B, C, D, and all this, or one, two, three. Upfront planning low, and on the other side we have traditional project management on a high side. So upfront planning generally, what I understand from this in simple is like basically they don't need to worry about things, because they plan things around it in advance. So when we are trying to support a client, when we are trying to support a business with their solutioning request, or let's say designing request, we are focused on planning it first. So that's why we say that upfront planning on Scrum is very low, but compared to traditional project management, it's on high side. So they start planning things on very high scale, and it's more of like advanced planning methods they follow. Prioritization of requirements based on business value and regularly updated. And traditional project way, it's fixed. So now prioritization of requirements, that's true based on business value and how it goes, and the stakeholder requirements are kept at a certain, point. But older ways of traditional way, it's fixed. Like they have that certain fixed priorities. They need to focus on A first, then B, then C, like that. Quality assurance, again, we are focused in Scrum towards customer centric because the whole principles are built around people, that's human. So everything is connected to our customer and stakeholders, or I would say clients. But when we look at the traditional way, they are more of process centric. So they are focused quality on process. Organization, self organized. We don't have to worry much on the Scrum side, but traditional project management, yes, you need to have someone managing that. But in Scrum, you can manage it on yourself. If required, you have your Scrum Masters, you have your project managers to deal with that, and they don't manage things, but they're just designated with you to work on that as a collaborative approach. So we see management style, it's more of decentralized and centralized on the tradition way. Leadership, uh, if you see again, it's a collaborative and command and control in the older way, the traditional. But today's leadership, like how we have seen in our uh, leadership journeys, we see more it as a people centric, people management, the more of employee centric. So we look at more of employee engagement levels rather than looking at more of like uh, controlling them. It's something like that. Performance measurements, again, it's more of on business values and how on the older traditional we used to have it on the plan conformities. But today when we see at Scrum levels, we see the measurements of performance takes place as per the business requirements, business values, business activities. So we are measuring each and every aspect of the life cycle in the project, whatever we do. So that's your ROI is given. So ROI is throughout the project life or it is early as well. And your traditional ROI will only come when your entire project life cycle is completed. Customer involvement. Now, this was an important uh, factor for us in the principle as well, principles of Agile, and today in Scrum as well. Their involvement is playing a vital role to deliver the projects as required. Because what happens is traditional way, okay, they usually just fulfill the requirements based on the life cycle of the project. Okay, but when we see in the servicing in the Scrum side, we see it is available throughout the journey of the project. So that's a little understanding of the differences of Scrum and traditional project management with few of these features or characteristics, like I would say. So yeah, this is a little of framework what we have, the traditional waterfall and the Scrum framework. Right. Now, another thing is adaptability is another important thing with our agile principles. Okay. So, adaptability is more of like what I can say is in simple language, you have to, adjust to the new conditions. Like whenever something happens newly in the market, in the terms of technology, in terms of tools, in terms of resources, So we have to make sure that the quality is adjusted according to it. For example, let's say our company is including some new or launching some new policies for employee benefits or employee engagement. So what happens is like we start working on delivering the quality so for the new conditions or policy which we have implemented. So our focus is to get adjusted with that. So that is why we are adaptable towards the technology of Scrum, or let's say any other technology tools and resources. So that is a very important thing, that in Scrum your adaptability should be there, because technology and the time you work in your projects, your assignments for your clients and stakeholders, you will see a lot of new things coming up or new requirements. Maybe like say client wants to tweak things a little bit and it's very new to you, but you want to deliver the best. So you try to find the best techniques, best approach, and try to take some expert judgments or advice like that. But you're adaptable to that, means you're adjusting to the newer conditions. Transparency, now this is general term we understand. You need to be very clear with the communication with your stakeholders. But in terms of transparency on the Scrum side, so we have it like all information radiators with Scrum board and sprint burn down or burn up chart are shared. So generally, what happens is like, let me example, if I say in Scrum environment, the process is basically nothing but the work should be visible. In just simple words, if you ask, it's like the work should be visible so that the one who are performing, and they should be able to understand it very clearly. So it's like the visuals, either the visual way or you know the transparency we have. So it builds basically nothing but the fundamental values of the agile technologies or agile methodologies we have. And also this Scrum frameworks what we have is like, basically they're all adopted with agile methodologies. And this transparency is one of the top pillars, I would say. So there's basically there are three pillars of our Scrum. So one of them on the top is transparency, and that is the reason we have that first as a preference and importance. So we have to make sure that excuse so it's very important for these to be uh, kept on the charts, and it has to be provided. Continuous feedback is more of like, not only in uh, technical layman terms, but in terms of Scrum it's more of giving a lot of feedback is nothing but more of an updates, more of like reporting, more of like providing the changes in the environment. Okay, so basically that is something we have to look into when we are having the Scrum projects or agile methodologies forward. And this is another thing is like, this continuous feedback is also a part of, I would say, our basic principles in agile PM project management. Basically they have certain techniques, and one of them I remember is TDD, which is test driven development, which is making sure that they have this regular catch-ups or meetings that allows the team to go ahead and share some challenges they come over, and also try to see what efforts can we do to resolve them. So one one example of my project I recall back with Infosys was basically working on a tool. Okay, so we were trying to implement a new LOS tool for our uh, banking system. So, and being a part of a UAT testing team, so it is very important that we have stand-up meetings, or we can say more of like daily calibrations or scrum meetings, okay, to make sure that we understand what are the current progress, where are we right now, what are the challenges we come across, and how do you think we can resolve them. And those are very important in terms of when you are dealing with uh, such projects, or having a project management like that. But it is important that we keep uh, all these efforts in place, so that we are able to fix and resolve them in a very timely manner, because we all know the stakeholders included or part of this scrum uh, meetings or projects. There are a lot of stakeholders involved, so we may be able to discuss and identify the possible solution to it, so that we do not delay the timelines. Because as we went through the agile principles, it talks more on the terms of timelines as well for the customers or the clients. Now, continuous improvement, that is another part of your uh, cycle in your projects. Basically, a project management life cycle is part of your. You need to keep looking for continuous improvement, which is basically nothing but uh, there will be an opportunities for us where we can try to improve things in a way better way, or in a simpler way. Because in scrum, it generally we focus on improving the delivery and integration of whatever we get from the customers. So we as we know, it's a people centric, we work towards on scrum, and we are focused more on clients communication, feedback, what they are looking for. So continuous improvement is nothing. It's more of like towards I keep uh, you know adding things to it, making some changes, making some improvements with regards to what the customer's feedback is, or the client feedback. So that is important for us to keep in mind as well. Because uh, we don't have to stop at some place saying that the project is completed, so we are good to go and we close on and sign off. But it's also important that you continue to improve the methodologies, the approach, the technology, the environment or architecture if required. So that is something we need to keep working on it. Like today, if we are looking at, see now example, when we are looking at continuous improvement, so we ourselves are an example. So today, uh, I'm willing to learn scrum, but tomorrow I'm looking forward to learn power bi. So that is the part of ladders of where I want to keep improving. Why is that I'm improving, and why am I focused to learn something next which I'm not aware of? It's more of nothing but the feedback is nothing but like in the start of the conversation of this meeting or training today, uh, you brought it up saying that Sunita is interested in power bi too. So what happened? So I gave a feedback. I had a feedback on Power BI saying that it's one of the powerful data visualization tool. It helps. It's a user friendly tool. X Y Z. So what happened? I had a customer feedback because I know that feedback I knew from the market. I know I'm utilizing the product. So I thought I could give it to you. And now the continuous improvement is focused on learning that particular tool as well. So that is a kind of an example I wanted to just add because I remembered. But that's how the continuous improvement in the Scrum as well looks when you are delivering what is expected by the customer. Now, what is the continuous delivery of the value? It's simple. It's making sure the deliverables are completed and delivered to the customer at the regular intervals. So that's again important thing. Timelines. Whenever we have a requirement, so timelines have to be kept very realistic, okay, and making sure we
Can
are
you
meeting timelines.
can you go back? Can you go back to previous slide once?
Sure, sorry. So it is continuous delivery of value in general. If we ask more on terms of Scrum or Agile, so it is like just working towards delivering the products or the project to the required timelines, or making sure whatever the delivery is expected by the customer or client. So basically we need to give them to or hand it over or deliver that to them in the required timelines. So that is very important, because that's where the customer will be in a situation to look back again for a new projects. So the delivery of value, that is what it's meant.
Yeah, you can move on.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Sumit. Right now, sustainable pace. Now that is something where we are also making sure in Scrum, uh, sustainable pace is basically what we look into is like uh, it should be a situation where you should be able to work without having much negative impacts, or I would say any consequences that might hamper things around it, where you may have to work for an extended timelines which is not meant to be. But that is why, like example, let's say I'm working in an office and in my operations, and uh, something what happened is like some uncalled situation comes, or there was a requirement from the client at no notice. It came in a very short notice. So what happens there? Being an operation, so I have to make sure the client is being provided with that particular uh, deliverable completed, because that's a requirement. So I'm giving my importance and priority to the client, and that is what sustainable pace also means. So we should be able to deal with that kind of situations as well. So let's say when you are a scrum master, project manager, or you're a scrum expert, so you may have to come across situations like such where the client may add in some requirements which is out of your scope, out of your purview and all these things. But you still have to make sure you add that into your activity list, task list, or let's say your project activity list. Put it up somewhere, but making sure that we work addition to that and deliver that to the client as well. So that's very important, because again, agile principle: focus on people, focus on customer. If customers are delivered with a better
Uh,
quality.
Nizam, can I take like 5 minutes break? I
Sure.
need to get something. Give me 5 minutes. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, thank you. Sure, sure.
Um, Sorry, Nizam, you can get started. Nizam, are you here?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was speaking on mute. My bad. All right. So, yeah, continuing from after the sustainable pace we completed, we had early delivery of high value. So, generally, this is more of uh, making sure that we are delivering or completing the highest business values requirements at the first. So, generally, that's the kind of system or benefit of Scrum we follow is delivering the earliest for the higher values. Efficient development process, it's create continuous improvement. Again, it's part of that where we continue to develop or we continue to improvise or effectively develop new processes or modify or develop them within the business or the organization. Motivation, yep, this is another important factor which you will, as a Scrum Master, project managers, we have to make sure that we are keeping the motivations as well on top because um, the team you're working, the project you're working with, so many people involved with it, we have to keep that motivation levels up because uh, there will be some cases, there will be conflicts, there will be some disputes within the same project team. So we need to understand all that, eliminate that kind of risk, and make it an environment where you keep people motivated, the individuals or the team members, or let's say employees among the team members which you're working with in the project. You need to keep them motivated. Now motivation can be in any kind of form. It's not important that it has to always be in terms of a monetary or it has to be in recognition. So that's another important factor and a benefit we play with Scrum as well. It has to be important that you are keeping your employees motivated and keeping that environment clean, I would say. Faster problem resolution. Now that's another thing. What we do is like collaborate and work with different teams to identify the better way and the fastest way to resolve the problems. Now, in Scrum, like as we were talking about the agile principles, we are not restricted to one team, or we are not just working with a specific group of people within our department, but they can be an opportunity where you are working with respective stakeholders, other department uh, team members. Why? Because you may be able to, you know, uh, absorb, or I would say acquire some of their learning skills and their expertise in the given problem what you have. So Scrum is more about collaboration again. You work collaboratively with all possible stakeholders in your department or in your organization. Effective deliverables. So that's again very important. After your, you have your deliverables handed over to the clients or customers, and making sure you keep a regular touch. Okay, I would say more of like meetings, review meetings with the client to see how effective uh, the project delivery has taken place. That is important. And as part of the Scrum principle again, or the Agile principles, it is important that we have this thing like, example, uh, you have a work allocated to you, you're set to finish the work and go back, log off from your shift and continue the same routine again. But we don't get an opportunity to review that, what happened yesterday, how did it happen, how did it go. There's no time to go back and review things. The similar way, we shouldn't be doing it in Scrum, because it's our responsibility to stay in touch. Communication channels continue to be open with our stakeholders, clients or customers, to keep a check on how things have been going with their product or the project. Now, customer centric, it's again, we have spoken about this, so it's more on, excuse me, sorry, it's more of focusing on the people or customer, or understanding their requirements and delivering the best as per the requirements of the customer itself. Yeah, trust and transparency. Now, this is important factor which I was talking in the agile principles, that working with the various departments, stakeholders, clients, customers. Excuse me, sir. It is important for us to first build the trust between the team or the parties you're working with. It is important for us to first promote that kind of a trust, show them that you respect the work what they're doing, and as a have a transparency around the work you're doing, because only that way things will go very well. Because sometimes what happens is like, the benefits of Scrum is this, but sometimes what happens, you are working on a project, and you feel that you may go out of line and try to do something very different to move things very faster. But keeping your peers, employees, team members, group informed about changes is a better way to deal the situation. Because tomorrow, if any hiccups takes place in the project, let's say there is a problem which really impacted the business of the client, so the responsibility or accountability goes to all of the people involved in the project. So why is this? Because one person went out of the line and did something very different to expedite things around it. So might be the motive was not to do that, but motive was might be like to meet the client satisfaction timelines, or there might be a thing that the individual wanted to finish the activity list given to him in a very shorter timeline. That might be the case. So always important, keep our client trust, and the trust within the organization, employees, team, group has to stay there. Now, collective ownership. Yeah, this is what I was talking about in the discussion of this slide of trust environment. Collective ownership, it's very important. Now, I said an example, right? Something goes wrong when the client reviews the project proposal and the deliveries or the solution of it. So, who is held responsible? Is it one person or is it everyone? So it is going to be everyone itself, because uh, this benefit, the Scrum is basically not about an individual. It's more about a team. It's about a group. It's about a organization, whatever it is. So we all take that ownership, like good or bad, we have to. So in Scrum as well, our principles follow the same. Collective ownerships where people take the ownership of the project together. It's not like one person will say, I'm not taking, I'll just work my part and I'll go. No, anything goes wrong, you guys are responsible. So there will be like some instances like that, but we all have to create that kind of environment. So excuse me, it's like more of like collective ownership. uh, High velocity, so this is more of commitment. Yeah. So again, everyone in the team needs to be committed towards what they're going to work towards. The framework should be very strong enough so that your project deliverables are completed as required. Because again, if any person is not so committed, it's just like, yeah, that's my job, okay, I'll do it and go. But he's just doing something basic and moving out, doesn't mean that it will be very fruitful outcome. But what we are looking is commitment levels should be very high. When someone is interested to deliver a project, the teams, the stakeholders in the departments, other departments, everyone has to stay on top of their fulfillment of this project or requirements. So that is important. And another thing, not to forget innovation. That's a part of our every aspect, not only technology, but non-IT as well. We look at trying to find innovative ways to create a better environment. Sorry. To create a better and a safe environment at the same time. So that's why innovation comes in picture in every aspect, not only with terms of projects, technology, but in terms of any way. So but in Scrum, we always have to keep that innovation hats always on our heads, so that we come up with something very innovative, where it can create a kind of opportunity where we can learn. And also adaptability will be a situation here which can help us to meet the demands and requirements, at the same time give a benefit to the client, saying this is something very newly done and it should be uh, a change for your organization or change for your clients, or etc etc. Now these are some of the benefits, like what we were discussing, so many: adaptability, transparency, continuous. Now, why is it so important for us to know benefits of Scrum? Is nothing but it's like when we are working together with a team, stakeholders in the organization, we all have to follow these basic ground principles, or I would say ground rules, to make sure we are in a successful place. Okay? Yeah, people might think that what if in case I don't do it. Okay, that might be a case where individuals may think of just doing the things in their own way. They don't want to follow the agile principles, they don't want to follow the Scrum rules, and they just want to go with what they feel is better. All right. So that's a thing what we have to be very careful with, is like in Scrum, the world of agile technology, we have to deal everything related to people, customer centric. Okay, and that's a little overview intro type, and knowing what agile principles are built around, what are the benefits that you're looking at. The benefits in terms, yeah, knowledge is there, but at the same time, before the knowledge, you need to understand these basic principles, so that your knowledge will really help you to achieve the success in the projects or deliverables, whatever you're doing. So overview of the SBOC guide. So as I said, it's a Scrum body of knowledge, we call it. Now this is another book where generally it gives a lot of I would say information around it, which talks more about projects, how the services can be done, how are the programs working, how are the projects to be delivered. So there's a lot more information in this. It's a knowledge book, I would say. It's a kind of a encyclopedia of Scrum completely. So it gives a lot of information for knowledge aspect, and kind of understanding each and every behavior, each and every process, each and every life cycle functions. So everything is part of your SBOK guide. Now, if you look at the framework of SBOK, it's basically divided into three areas: Scrum principles, processes, and aspects. So these these are the, I would say, the framework. Okay, what I would say, it's like the main roots of your Scrum completely. Scrum principles, process, and aspects are very important when we are looking, you know, to acquire that particular, project, to understand how it needs to be done, to know what exactly should be the process. The framework should be there. So if it is very important that framework should be understood very clearly, because if we plan something, you know how to do it, the principles should be in place, like basically the standard principles. Okay, and all this information should be in place so that we know what needs to be followed. Another, I think I just wanted to say that one thing is like this framework is basically, again, a part of how the agile principles kind of thing. So same thing we have it with uh, the Scrum framework as well, which basically talks here. Can I'll just zoom this little. Okay, so it is more of like, you can see it's an iterative development. Okay, and then you have a couple of more Scrum principles. Basically, this is, the it's a kind of a ingredient, I would say, a recipe for this particular framework. Is basically iterative development. As we, it's a simple thing, like breaking down the SDLC into a very small chunks or something like that. So that's one thing. Then we have empirical process control, self organization, collaboration, value
What do
based
you mean
time.
by empirical process control? What does that mean?
So in this, what we can tell in simple terms, let me give you an example. So basically, it's like a decisions when you are setting up decisions, or decisions are being made based on your observation and experimentations. Okay, basically, we are making the decisions based on the observation, like what is happening and what are the results coming out from the experiments, like UAT. We make the decisions in basically on that terms. Or else generally what we think of doing is we make decisions based on upfront planning. Like we make planning in advance, and then we make the decisions there itself, saying that okay, this is what we are planning to do, so the decision is going to be based on this. But in empirical, it is going to be more of your observation. You identify, experiment, and then you decide how it is going to be. And this generally, this empirical process, it completely depends, or I would say it has that concept of transparency, inspection, and adaptability. The only reason is this process, I would say it's like transparency is because we know how things are happening in the project, with the team, with the project, with the deliverables what we are working. Inspection, it's something being match, identifying it, monitoring things, observing it, how things have been working around. And adaptation, or I would say adaptability. Anything you see something new happening, or uh, new implementation or new change to be added to your project or scrum, you have to adapt it, or I would say you have to absorb that. That is what the empirical process completely uh, all it's about. Okay, so this is about empirical process control. Self organization, we all have discussed this, so it's more of collaboration plus organizing things within ourselves, rather than having someone control everything. Like, we example of school, we have a teacher, they have a control over the classroom for the entire day, and they don't allow us to go here, they don't allow us to go there, ABC. So something like that. But in scrum, the principle, we don't allow to have that kind of uh, control or rigid states, but we are going to keep it more of flexible environment, I would say. Collaboration, it's again, we are self-aware, working with so many departments, stakeholders, clients, people involved to work with the project within that particular business unit. So that is what keeps the project principle you know running around. Value based prioritization, now that is something which we can determine uh, the orders and separating what must be done. So basically, you can identify what is required to be done now and what can be done later. So it is something like that. So it's basically, it is driving the, it's again, entire scrum framework is built with that. Basically, it's a core principles which drives this, is basically the structure and the functionality. And again, it is like how we discussed about the high value deliveries. So it's similar to that, we have that value based prioritization as well. So whichever is seems to be like determined, to be delivered on priority in terms of value, we go with that. And later on, whichever is like the values are okay and minimal, like deliverables, we can put it up on the later. So that's what we mean by the value based prioritization. Excuse me. And time boxing is very self explanatory for us. It is more of uh, you know having the team, having a idea of their activities and how it's going, and making it very visual type. Okay, so basically, it's kind of like scrum meetings, understanding how it is. And in general, it's kind of like we can have a daily scrum meeting for 15 minutes. So that's just to understand uh, how your team has been doing, what's the activity progress and all these things. So that's very important in part of your scrum principles. So these are your 6 principles that you have in your SBOG guide, and these are your main ingredients. Okay, which are built on your scrum framework, and it should be applied in all the projects. And trust me, I'll tell you honestly on this, experience wise, if any one drops off, then suddenly everything drops. Let it be your team, let it be people, let it be time boxing is very important, because we need to keep talking to the uh, stakeholders, different departments, teams, or whatever. And value based prioritization, yeah, that's again important. So I cannot drop off anything from this. Might be at some point you feel that okay, collaboration, yeah, that's fine, self organized, I'll take care of myself. Collaboration, yeah, I'm doing it for now, we'll keep it aside because I'm focused more on delivering the project. But we always have to start with the principles, end with the principles, and continue that cycle, because our project doesn't end there. we continue to review the progress of the deliverables with the client. Right. Now, these are our Scrum phases and processes. Like basically, I would say how we start and how we end is what we have to plan. Uh, so first most important thing, initiate. So we have to initiate a project vision. Basically, know what is the objective of this particular requirement. Then you have to identify the Scrum Master and the business stakeholders. So there are certainly three parties who are certainly part of this Scrum framework, or I would say in the Scrum world. It is the Scrum Master itself, the product owner, and the development team. And without any one of these, the Scrum framework is incomplete. You need to have all these three people in a place like Scrum, because with the Scrum team, it's only made with these people: Scrum Master, okay, the product owner, and the development team. So they are important, or they play a very important role, because these let's say the development team example. So development team, again, it's very important. We cannot miss out on anyone from that team, because they are the ones who are part of the team collaboratively working to create things around, and work towards the milestones, deliverables, or executing the plan in action, and making sure the project timelines are met. Okay, product owner is, again, we know this, it's basically basically he's the one who can identify, or the person individual is the one who can identify what exactly is required, what are the requirements, what are the needs, and certainly setting up some expectations in general, I would say. And not to forget the Scrum Master itself. So now this Scrum Master is basically are like school headmasters, I would say. Example, because they are the ones who assist their teachers. Like how I say an example of school example, the headmasters, or let's say dean itself, are the ones who drive the team of teachers towards applying all the required knowledge, Scrum principles, uh, knowledge, principles, collaborations. All these things have to be done with help of this. And it generally, this person, the Scrum Master, takes place, or he basically undertakes most of the ability to ensure the effectiveness of the team, product owner, and for the company. So this person is the responsible person for all the things. So that is very important. So we need to have a Scrum Master. You need to identify and have the business stakeholders. So obviously we don't work alone. There'll be a lot of teams involved. There'll be a lot of people involved. We need to form the Scrum team. The Scrum team has three people, as we discussed: SM, Scrum Master, product owner, the development team. Then
Okay,
develop.
sorry to interrupt, Nizam. Can I ask one question? Uh,
Yep.
so, um, so what I'm trying to interpret is like if so I do this technical business analyst role at my job. So where would that typically does that always fall in the this framework, or because there is no mention of it in here? So in typically in our organization, product just gives us a very high level like business goals, like okay, I want to get this done, I want to build this product. But as a BA, I am the one who defines that what is a very one liner goal into more breakable things. And line up the stuff. So can we talk about that in bit little bit?
So generally, if you ask me the type of BA, right? So I would say this individual, the BA, is a very key player in this entire Scrum deal or Scrum project, I would say, because uh, as you said, we define things and we also refine things. So we are the key players for this particular aspect or technology what we have. Uh, in addition to talk a little about this, how beneficial this is, I would say they are like, business analyst. What do they do? They are nothing but, these are the masters of everything, I would say. BS. Okay. Being a BA, it's not an easy job, because they build things, they refine things, they break them down into a very simpler manner, they put it up in a very flexible way. So there are so many things these people do, the BA. Okay. Now the role of how it becomes in the agile way is like, basically they are like collecting around things, analyzing, modeling. So all these things are placed only by one person, that's a BA, to meet the customer requirement. And it is in technical terms, or technical requirements, it's basically they are the ones who can design and code the things way better than everyone. So BAs are the top guns, I would say. And I remember one thing about, when you had this question, how exactly is this going to be? Uh, but I'll tell you what, the BAs, right? This person is only the link, or this person is the connection, okay, between the owner, product owner, and the technical development team. Without a BA, they cannot run the whole things. The show doesn't run without a BA there. So to answer that question, very simple. The Scrum team is incomplete without BA. Oh, sorry. Did I lose you, or am I okay? Wait a minute.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry. Because that's another one of my experience as well, that I feel that being in a role of business analyst, you are doing way more than expected from what is required. Because a BA is a person, basically, they plan, they do monitoring, they find out various methodologies, they do a lot of approach, they do a lot of techniques. Like example, the Babok itself has 50 techniques. Now, where which technique has to be applied, where which technique needs to be utilized, what approach, what methodology. So you see, there's a lot of uh, show behind BA. But when
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
yeah,
So
when you part of that team, it really, it's the show is majorly run between by the BA.
yeah,
And
I see. The thing is, I'm like, so not like every organization has that uh, role, like existence of that
mhm,
BA, right? So that's where I was like, okay, I can. So I think some places they're expecting like Scrum Master to do that. So that's when I said like, okay, let me add that hat to myself so that I
mhm,
can be a one servant leader who can initiate the things and also like a does a business analyst role who can also define the how we are going to get the things done, right? So that was like I'm trying to like articulate that. Yeah. Mhm.
I get the point. Uh, but At one point, I disagree. Sorry to say, but I disagree. The Scrum Master says that ABC is required like this. But if I say it in a my experience being a BA consultant itself, uh, if I drop off the ship or I depart from the place, that project cannot be done successfully. A BA is a main link to all the project, entire project here. Let it be a product owner, let it be the customer, let it be the development team. BA is the one who gives the roadmap for implementation. Okay, and without BA, right? Example, Babok technique, brainstorming. No, it is not possible. The Scrum Masters, yeah, they might be good in organizing, good in planning, good in mentoring, but are they good in the things what BA can do? Is because I'm not defending that type of between BA and Scrum Master, but I'm laying some importance. Why? Because that this question came up to me as well many times. When they come with me, when they do certification trainings with me on CSM, they ask me one thing, Nizam, what is the difference between BA and Scrum? Is it different? I say no. You guys means to say the BAs are very important individuals in this particular project, Scrum. Because I'll tell you what, BAs do the stand up meetings, that is daily Scrum meeting, that's time boxing 15 minutes. BAs work closely with QA, the testing team, QA team. Why? To understand how is the test happening, how is the testing coverage availability, how are they how are the conversions happening in the from the test cases, are they able to get enough you know what do you say test cases to understand the complexity of the environment in the product. So there is a lot involvement of a BA in this world of Scrum, and BA certainly is very important in every single stand up meetings of a Scrum project. It cannot be. If that BA is not available on that meeting, I literally will cancel the meeting and wait for the BA to come back, because the inputs, the values that comes from a BA in this role, it is really important, really important. Why does Babok have 50 techniques? Babok was just created for no reason, no, right? There was 50 techniques given to us. There are different types of methodologies, different types of approach, different types of business evaluations. Why? It's all because to evaluate and help the business to understand all these things. And also, BA is only the person who keeps learning on the new trend in the market. Honestly, I'm very honest. And they are the ones, uh, they also sometimes act as a product owner. The role of three roles in Scrum, they sometimes act as product owner also, because BA is the mediator, is the mediator for all the people. If anyone needs anything, uh, if I'm taking too much time on this topic, but stop me. But I'm telling you why, because uh, I want the information and the message to be very clear for people when they think about this concept. We are the main point of contact for everyone, the BA, the business analyst. So that's the importance of BA in this roles.
Thank you.
No, no, no problem. But it was a good question you asked, because generally I get this uh, vibe when people ask me. I feel people should ask me this question, because they think, oh, Scrum is a very crazy, crazy place. I'm doing something very new and all. But the level of expertise we come with in the term or a role of a BA, it's a way beyond to your Scrum. Yeah, you can try this. I example I'll say you, not try this, but I just thought of telling you as well when we spoke about this. Uh, for some time, if you are not available for a project which you are currently working on, like you started with it and you're working on it currently, and for some time you take off and just go on a kind of vacation example, not even 1 2 days 3 days, let's say, you would see a difference there. You know what the difference will become? The difference is the entire ship or entire uh, the bus, I would say example, the bus will be in standstill. It will not move further inch also until unless BA comes back. BA holds huge respect. I can tell you. So yeah. So that's yeah, that's a more important point that I wanted to share with you because uh, way less people ask me this question, but
Yeah, I mean, like we did not had that role, so I fought for it, and I I made it. People create it, and I was like, um, so now I have like within our organization, every
Mhm.
team has a PA now. So
Correct.
I think like when you said like Scrum has only Scrum Master, product and development team, and I said like you need to have a BA there.
No, but you are part of uh, this team as well. It doesn't work out any projects. Let it be from a small project to a major one. Everywhere a BA should be there. And you know what? BAs are a good users. They write good user stories. No one else does. You can accept that with me. So when we
Yep,
wanna,
yep, that's what we do, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
when we are in a BA role, we come up with good great stories, user stories, acceptance, then some type of frameworks for the customer or the client. But no one can do that. I bet you. No, neither the Scrum Master, neither the product owner can do it. Product owner will just tell me that, hey Nizam, this is my requirement, this is my product, this is my feature. I want it like this. But who does all the work behind? It's a BA. So yeah. So, but it's great to know so much. I think we're getting to know a lot about each of us, uh, while we are doing this session. But it's great to know so many things. Uh, what are you involved in, and what, and also I'm also able to share my experience. I know uh, I started this journey with IT only by I think 7 years or 8 years now. Uh, it has been great, but I don't look back now because if I look back, I'll go back to my older uh, non-IT domain, which I don't want to get into because IT has helped me learn so many things, not in terms of knowledge, but a lot of skills which has been developed. And in Babok and when I was doing my certification for BA, generally that's where I learned a lot about things in technology world. So yeah,
It's done. No, check it.
sure, sure.
So one point on this slide, Nizam.
Hmm.
Um, so from a Scrum Master perspective, release is one of the thing, right? theoretically I want to understand. Like practically, I know what in my project the Scrum Master does as a relief in terms of release. But theoretically, what is the expectation of
Mm.
this bullet point?
So this person is just like a team manager in general, operational way if I talk, or in a very simple term. uh, this person leads the entire team, the project management team, and the Scrum Master is the one who facilitates or builds that communication collaboration between all the departments, leadership teams, or individual teams or department, whatever, in to make sure we are working in a very collaborative way. The only thing what I understand from the Scrum Master is like they all focus on the team, making sure they take all the required steps to ensure they achieve the project's successful or completion of the project. They are also like Scrum Masters. They usually uh, you know lead the team, support them, do coaching wherever required. And I said you example of conflict resolution within the team sometimes. So in simple, I told you, right? Think it in an operational way. You're an operation manager or a senior manager, so you are leading a team with so many number of managers, AMs, team leaders, associates, SMEs. So the same thing is being done by the Scrum Master. Like how you schedule calls with clients, you schedule calls with teams, you have discussions, business discussions, collaborations with other departments to improve business for their department. So the same thing the Scrum Master does.
So we have these. I mean, I'm not in my place, but I hear a lot about release train engineers. What does that means?
Release training.
No, no, release train engineer.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry. I think my network, just 1 minute, it is breaking. Right. Sorry, I think, let me see if it's clear now. Yeah.
Actually, we are at time. Are you okay? Or I'm just want to make sure. Um, if you have, it's too late for you, right? We can resume tomorrow.
No problem. I think it won't take much time. I'll just do a 5 minutes more. That's fine.
Okay, so some places I see a position called release train engineer. What is that do? Is it separate from Scrum Master?
Oh, okay. The release train engineer RTE. So this is like another part of like Agile framework has this position, or it's a profile where it's how would I say, they're more into self-organizing things, okay, and they're more responsible towards delivering things to the clients directly, and they help uh, identify the risk around it. So basically they are like self-managed, and they are not like governed by someone on the above heads, but they are something, they only run the show on their own, and they run their own teams accordingly, and they're focused primarily on uh, certain activities, okay, basically like in supporting the execution, coaching, facilitating PI plannings, and optimizing and improving something like that.
I
So
see.
that is
I see.
little, yeah, that is a little different role. It's more of like they are like a coach for agile releases. And I would say they are basically chief scrum masters, I would say, master chef type release train engineer. And they are very developed, and they're very specialized in implementing ART processes. So that's why we call them as master chef of scrum.
Gotcha. I'll
Yeah.
probably look into it, what it really means at some
Yeah.
point.
No problem. Yeah, but that's a great role. It's more of like being a scrum coach, being a head of all the scrum masters. You will be leading a lot of scrum masters at a time with all the product owners, like that. It's more of that role. RTs.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right. I don't want to take much more of your time, Sunita. Thank you so much for taking your time today, and we will catch.
Tomorrow, what time are we having? Because I requested a little earlier time, Nizam.
What time are we looking at?
It depends on your schedule, but I have to go out somewhere, so earlier is better.
Earlier, what time do we prefer having it way in the evening itself?
Yeah, 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 if possible, just for tomorrow. After that, I think I'm fine.
That's fine. So you can let them know, and I'll also talk to Piyush to see if we can do it morning. How does it work? Is it fine?
Yeah, yeah, it works perfect for me actually. I'm a
Great.
morning person. So so it's like whenever you, as early as you can start.
Sure.
I think today yours is like, yours was 9:30 in the night, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like 9:30 was 11 o'clock for us in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
I can go until like 3 hours behind this, what we started, like 8 in the morning. But I wanted to check with you, like a feasibility of you.
Okay. What time zone are we in your side? It's mountain or eastern?
I am on Eastern.